Hello people of the earth and welcome to QuickSaveTV. My name is Mike and today I'm going to present to you the AirMech, whatever you want to call it, from the Indie Royale Summer Bundle. It's one of the games in it. It's sort of a free-to-play, multiplayer and single-player MOBA in a way, with a twist here and there. It's very dynamic as such, and you have to control this AirMech fighter, and as you go around the battlefield you can assist your team or yourself if you play 1v1, that is, in several ways. You can build additional units and place them on a battlefield. You can go ahead and attack the enemies yourself using your plane, and as you gain levels on the battlefield you will be able to improve your certain characteristics of your plane, characteristic of your forces, expand the capacity of the maximum amount of forces on the battlefield, etc, etc. It becomes a kind of very interesting tactical MOBA in which it's not so important how good you are yourself, but it's very important for you to understand overall what's good for your team. Like even a beginning player, as you start playing the game, you will be able to soon realize and find yourself helping your team or hindering your team in ways you couldn't imagine. It's like in a street fight. When you're generally new to that and you're about to fight that guy in school that has been bullying you, for example, and you just don't understand what you're doing, and you try to imagine things and you're like, oh, I'm gonna stand like Sub-Zero or Scorpion from your favorite Mortal Kombat series, right? And you gradually figure out that it's not working, and then you figure out what actually is working and you start doing these things. It's the same thing in AirMech. What happens is that you start sucking at first and very badly, and you start thinking that probably that's because the game is free to play. That is why I have these disadvantages against these enemies. Maybe that's because they paid a lot of money in order to be better than me, but in essence, even though they might have advantage over you by having more advanced characters than you do, or maybe having more advanced planes than you do, in majority of the circumstances you just have to understand the way the game operates. You build general units. There's 31 units in the game which you can build, but only 8 units of them you can equip with yourself on the battlefield. Equipping the units is done through the main menu. And after you equip it, you can participate in online battles with other players, and as you gradually unlock more and more units, your tactical pool will expand. You unlock these units and other goodies in the game by earning kudos. Kudos is the currency used in the game in AirMech. The other currency present in the game is diamonds, and the other one is of course euros, dollars or whatever else you have in your country. So in essence there's 3 currencies in the game, and the transactions in the game, majority of the circumstances, can be done with kudos unless it is something of a cosmetic character, or it's something... No, it's just generally, it's something cosmetical or something for PvE. There is nothing that can be bought with... say for PvP, nothing is restricted to real money or diamonds. Everything can be bought with kudos, even though technically you will be spending more time to get it. During the battle, after finishing the battle, you will be able to earn a certain amount of kudos. In my circumstances, it was like from 100 to 200 kudos, which you will be able to spend to buy things. Things cost like 200 kudos, 300 kudos, and etc. It can be an additional landmine or a bear trap or an additional tank, which you can use with yourself on the battlefield as many times as you want, as long as you unlock it. There are many different playstyles you can choose in this game, and all of them are relatively viable. So for example, when you are participating in an all-out attack against the enemy, you might want to assist your comrades on the battlefield by flying with your plane and starting to assist them by destroying and shutting down enemy planes, AirMechs, I'm gonna call them planes, okay? By shutting down enemy planes or helicopters which are controlled by other players. And in doing so, you will assist your team in many ways. As you play the game and play against other players, you will soon figure out that there are several types of attack. There is attack against ground forces and attack against flying forces. In case of your plane, you have to be switched to the air mode to attack air forces, so it's plane against plane battle, and you have to be on the ground in order to attack the ground forces, including enemy planes that are transformed into mech mode. Now, how to understand it better? In some circumstances, when you fight against the enemy, you will be pushed to a point when you will realize, oh, you know what, I actually have to switch to the plane mode and just retreat the hell out of here. But it might be not the best idea on the battlefield, as if there's an enemy plane very close by, he will be able to quickly shut you down. And generally in this game, the fights between mechs of different players are very quick, very quick, deadly and devastating. There's enough, like several seconds of constant fighting at the enemy is enough to tear his plane to pieces, to shut him down, to earn this additional momentum to your team in order to earn tactical advantage, tactical and strategical advantage in earning additional ground on the battlefield, on building more units, and etc, etc. But at the same time, your mechs are not necessarily so effective in destroying the fighting units, because your units are very sturdy, it takes a lot of time to destroy them. And this is partially justified because your mechs actually outrange majority of the units in the game, so it becomes very important that, you know, they kind of balance it out. So even though you reach from very far distances, you cannot necessarily destroy them quickly enough, and etc, etc. Then again, in this game, the way you play, most of the circumstances you can justify playing in one specific fashion and it will actually work. You can plant landmines, you can plant additional defensive structures, you can plant economical structures, you can bring additional tanks to the battlefield, you can try to shoot down enemy planes as they bring units, you can try to destroy enemy mechs when they are on the ground using your mech. You can try to invest in economy for your team and just build a gigantic economy that will help overpower your enemy in the long run. You can try and assault the enemy with small units, with small packs, like take a very strong tank with you and try to capture the enemy position. The fights on the battlefield, even though it's very small, the general understanding for the battlefield is you want to control points. Having more points means having more economical advantage over your enemy, as it racks up over time, you will be able to use this economical advantage to actually destroy the enemy really quickly. On the map, there are several outposts. In this circumstance, on the map you're seeing right now, there's two outposts on the north and in the south. South is the main point on which fighting is going on. The north position, on the other hand, is very hard to conquer, very hard to get, but the side that controls it has this immense economic advantage and a very easy to defend spot. I myself favor these small units, which are in essence SAM turrets, which are very powerful small cars with this set of rockets on their back, and if the enemy plane would get close enough to it, they would just launch such a barrage of rockets that you wouldn't really want to go against them. So it's very easy to defend, and many different strategies can be applied. There's artillery units, there are mines, there are SAM, there are repair units, there are tanks, there are heavy tanks, there are very quick scouting units, there are simple infantry units that can capture positions. So even though they're very, in essence, they're kind of useless, they are very quick. Majority of enemy mechanical units cannot react quickly enough to your soldiers, and your soldiers can at the same time capture enemy positions. Each of the unit types has specific deviations, and you can deviate quite a lot in the same things you're doing. It's very interesting in what it is. In total, there's 31 units in the game which you can unlock using kudos on currency. There's at least one unit I know of that you have to unlock with currency, but it is restricted to the PvE games, not PvP games. And who really cares about PvE, right? But at the same time, PvE can be a good and reliable source of money for a beginning player, for kudoses, in order to unlock specific things, because it can be really difficult from the start to fight against other players, because you don't have the specific advantages. You have very simple plane or a helicopter you can select, and you just don't. In many circumstances it can be really frustrating, especially considering the fact that the match can last over 30 minutes freaking easily, like you wouldn't even know that. At the same time, you can actually play offline in this game, which is a really nice addition. You don't have to play online at all times. You can just log in into the game and just play yourself against artificial intelligence, which kind of sucks ass. And it's very easy to farm additional kudos and experience on artificial intelligence, but it's not a lot of fun, as you can imagine, right? Even though majority of the microtransactions are accessible, sometimes the disparity is very big. For example, sometimes there is a mech which you can buy, and if you want to buy it in kudos, it's like 9,000, but if you want to buy it with currency, it's 5 euros. Disparity is gigantic, because 9,000 kudos is a lot of games played. roughly you will get about 200 kudos for a game that is 30 minutes long. Now imagine how many games you have to play to actually get it. That can be really devastating. And again, it seems like the game is pushing you to pay for it. And of course I understand the reasoning behind it. They let you try out the game, and if you like it you will buy some of these things. But at the same time, why not just to sell the game for 10 euros and just be happy? I would be more than willing to pay 10 euros for this game, whereas constantly having to think about these microtransactions can be a bit frustrating, especially considering that I myself, I'm very biased against microtransactions in games, free-to-play games. They generally creep me out. I don't like them very much. But at the same time, no matter how much I wanted to hate this game, I do understand that it has a lot of merit to it. It's a very nice game. It's very interesting. There's a lot of tactical advantages that you can learn how to actually use on the battlefield. There's a lot of units to select from, a lot of perks, and it's still only in beta, you know. There's so many things you can customize. You can customize your mech in order to set it up to be more defensive or more aggressive, the faster, the slower, the more armored, the more damaging, whatever you want. Then you can also customize your pilot, which will give you a set of advantages. Then you can customize the item your pilot has, which will also give you a set of advantages. On top of that, you can also customize several cosmetic changes for your character, but again, they are only for real money, so, you know, if you're really interested in that, you know, you have to consider the prospect of spending money on this game. And because it's free to play, today that's one cosmetic thing, tomorrow it's another cosmetic thing, and you might not catch up with them, and it can certainly ruin your family budget. You have to be careful with that. And so that's about it. That's what I wanted to tell you about this game. It seems very interesting in what it is. It's this MOBA combination with tactical strategy, and it's a lot of fun to play. You seriously have to try it if you are a fan of such games, and I don't think you will regret it. It's very interesting. At least for one try, it's very nice to actually go ahead and try it out. But at the same time, these free-to-play elements can creep many people off, including myself, even though they're not extreme and they're much more fair than in many games. Generally, PvP elements are restricted from microtransactions so that it stays fair, and there are several championships that will be started on this game. That's interesting what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to make it a cyber sport discipline, which is really interesting. And it's not a bad game. That's what you have to understand. It's not a bad game. It might be not the best game in the world, but at the same time, it's a fair amount of fun you can get from this game. It's a lot of fun to play with your friends because there's so many tactical exploits and advantages you can try out. It's a lot of fun to play yourself because it's just so fun to smash these goddamn people in their helicopters and planes, you know, just trying to hunt them down, disrupt their actions, and trying to earn tactical advantage towards your team. Try to plant some landmines, some turrets, and etc. Overall, it's a very nice game. However, having a fixed price would be much better in my opinion. Of course, some of you might disagree with me, and of course you're welcome to it. I understand there's merits to both of them. I'm not trying to enforce my opinion on you. Generally, if we just discard this thing about free to play is bad, blah which the game is great. It's a lot of fun to play. You should certainly check it out. Now, I thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the content and my commentary, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel, QuickSaveTV, and stay tuned for more content. It was a great pleasure telling you today about the game AirMech, and yeah, stay tuned for more and have a great day.